This is the Justicefighter Podcast. Justicefighter Podcast. With attorney Gerald Griggs. Attorney G. Where we have conversations on social justice, civil rights, and political news that affects us all. Let attorney Griggs put you on game. Only on the Justicefighter Podcast, y'all.
What's going on, y'all? It's attorney Gerald Griggs here with the Justicefighter Podcast here on the Justice Media Network, and I am super excited. I know I always say that, but I truly am super excited for this next guest, my friend, fellow activist, sister in the struggle, Porch'se Miller. Welcome to the podcast, Porch'se. Introduce yourself to everybody.
How you doing, Attorney Griggs? My name is Porch'se Miller, and I'm known as Queen. And I'm one of the lead community activists here in the greater Atlanta, Georgia, and a national civil rights activist for the country.
Well, I'm so supremely proud of the work that you were doing. Could you tell the people a little bit about what got you into organizing and how you found yourself on the front lines?
Well, for 17 years, I've been a community activist, just helping out in my community in Dothan, Alabama. But I really got involved around the time Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and the George Floyd murder had taken place. So I got into the activist work during the Breonna Taylor case.
Okay. And so you were up in Louisville several times, got arrested a couple times. Why do you think that was important to be boots on the ground up in Louisville?
Well, I thought it was important to be boots on the ground in Louisville because, first of all, I'm a woman of color. And to know that Breonna Taylor was killed like she did in the privacy of her own home as an EMT that worked for her community and her city due to a no-knock warrant that was for someone that wasn't living with her. And I want to give a major shout out to her boyfriend for trying to protect his home. So I felt that it was very important for us to get up there and fight for a woman of color, because so long we have seen police officers kill us. And this had been more Black men than women, but we could not allow them to get away like they did with Sandra Bland. And we still stay in Breeway, and we want justice for Breonna Taylor.
Absolutely. And so, after that, you found yourself on the front lines down in Brunswick, supporting the family of Ahmaud Arbery. How did you get involved in that, and how did it impact you?
I got involved in it via the family of Ahmaud Arbery, his wonderful aunt Diane Arbery. She reached out to me. We was just there on the day of action, and after I was asked to lead chants and do what I do for the voice of the people, she came to me and she gave me the true story on how Ahmaud Arbery was lynched and killed in Cecilia Shores.
And I'm assuming that affected you and caused you to be down there for a good part of the protest and the trial.
Yes, I was actually down there back and forth for a whole 6 weeks. I literally was there through the ups, the downs, the racial profiling of the jurors. I was there during the moments where the father, he was standing strong to the meltdowns. I was able to meet his wonderful, Ahmaud Arbery's wonderful mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, and got a chance to really get close to the community of Brunswick and bring the city out. And they did. They came out eventually.
Yes, and I'm sure they appreciated you. You've been back down there numerous times, and you've also been helping other mothers. You just got back from Columbus with the family of Mr. Jarvis Likes. Tell us about that protest and what's next for the mothers in Georgia.
Well, as you know, whether it's 5 or 25, whether it's 25 to 100, we're going to amplify and do what we need to do to bring the cities together behind the mothers. I met Jarvis Likes' mom, Kathy Scott Likes, and I can say that the emotions are still raw. The emotions are still raw. From my understanding, they haven't did a march or protest in 3 years in Muskogee County. And we all know that Muskogee County needs to be looked at when it comes to their mishandling of Black people. And that action was with the Justice for Georgia and the Georgia Reform Coalition that I founded was in the ACP. We was all in agreement to go together in solidarity to fight with the mother of Jarvis Likes. Also met the mother of Kendrick Johnson, Miss Jackie Johnson. Also met a young lady by name Kimberly Handy. Her son was murdered by the police in Minnesota, named Cordell Handy. So I was able to, and also Jabril Robertson, Dolphin, she was there. And so I met Andrew Smyrna's parents. They was there. And I must say it is a very tight group, loving group of women. It was an honor to assist. And we're going back to Columbus, Georgia soon.
Awesome. And so, I've always said this, and I want to say it on this platform. I'm supremely proud of the organizing that you're doing. You talked about some of the cases that you've been involved in and helping families, but I want to specifically drill down on the work that you've been doing in your organization that you just created. Could you tell the people more about your organization and why you feel it's important?
The organization I funded and put together with a group of people that has their own organizations and lead activists and mothers and family members are called Georgia Reform Coalition. We're soon to be changing our name soon once we go under charitable actions. And we fight prison reform, police brutality, economic deprivation, and we also fight for voting rights. So I did that because I seem to have became the spider in this movement for and however way it came about. And I said, well, you know what? Instead of us taking this fruit off this tree, and just going everywhere and fight, won't we take it and make it national? Won't we take it and bring it together? And so when we get out here and fight, and we go to the Capitol, and we put boots to the ground and march in these streets, everyone gets a chance to be supported, and it just brings a massive, because I see now that that white supremacy, they really react to numbers. And so I felt that if I brought everyone together and we all fight for the greater good of one cause, and we also fight for the abolishment of ICE, to get these detention centers shut down. Even Biden, we are already working on the fact that he lied on his 100 days when he came to Gwinnett County. And we had people from Icebreakers, shout out to Nielsen and Elliott, go up there and they practice their amendment right to use their voice to let them know we are a community and not cages. And so we're going to go and start taking action down in South Georgia.
That's awesome. And so with all of this activism that you've been doing and some of the cases that you've been involved in, it's helped to elevate a voice that was already there. I remember going to Dothan, Alabama with you for the march and the people connecting with us and learning that activism is deeply rooted in your family. Can you talk about how activism is deeply rooted in your family?
Yes, I do want to say that I've been having civil rights activism families during the test of time, and it all started really for me in Mobile, Alabama, when one of my father's family members was hung down in the latter part of Mississippi. But also when I was saying 17 years ago, my activism were dealing with my family the Glasgows, Kenny Glasgow, Kenyatta Glasgow of TOPS. They work with prison reform down there in Dothan, Alabama. They have did a lot of great work, and also being able to be raised in the community as I did work with the Reverend Al Sharpton, Ashley Sharpton, and Dominique Sharpton, and from National Network. NAN National Network.
Yeah,
so
National
it was
Action Network.
good. Yeah, National Action Network. I'm sorry. I just left another show.
It's okay.
Been doing a lot of talking. So with that being said, it was embedded in us when we did not even know that it was being embedded in us. And so once God saw that he needed me in this line of ministry, like I told somebody earlier today, I'm only doing what Jesus did. Jesus did nothing inside of no walls. Matter of fact, he was running people out of the walls for doing things that should not be happening inside of a temple. So what he did was he walked the streets and he went out and he saved lives and he talked to the community to get them out to be voiced. So just like our Black people, such as Ahmaud Arbery, just like the late activist Arthur Kane Jr., they got out there, and tried to make a change in their life and tried to make a betterment, and they sacrificed Jesus. They crucified him. The government did it, and we're still in the same thing today.
Yeah. And so, a lot of different type of listeners listen to my podcast and are listening to the platform. What advice would you have for a younger person, particularly a younger woman coming up in the movement, of how they find their voice and their footing in this movement as we continue to push forward towards justice and liberation?
Speak up. I want to say speak up. I was told by a wonderful activist, he ran for the mayor of Sandy Spring, as we know, is Dante Carter. At first, I just wanted to be part of the movement. I didn't know where my niche was. But I do want to say thank you to Dante Carter and also you, Attorney Griggs, for pulling something out of me that I probably felt like I lost for a long time. And that was my voice. And I'm using it as a ministry. And I really appreciate y'all for everything y'all have did for so many of us in the movement. And if, like you told me, this is not a head fight, this is not a hand fight, it's a head fight. And it's a strategic way you must go by doing things. And if you can do it with disobedience, you can also do it with discipline. Exactly.
I want to kind of wrap up with the last kind of major action that we did when we were up in Washington, D.C. With the Black Women's Roundtable and Deborah Scott and Melody Campbell and so many phenomenal Black women that have been doing this work. How did that affect you, getting to be a part of that march, starting, at the National Council for Negro Women with Dorothy Heights' picture on the wall, and then to march down Pennsylvania Avenue? Just kind of set the scene for us on that.
It was absolutely amazing. It wasn't much so of like the March of Washington for Votes, where it was just so many people out there, but it was so many dedicated people that came out and was present to stop the filibuster, to make the changes that need to be done so we can pass the John Lewis Voting Act, and to see all those women come together and unify like that, it brought something out of me to say, yes, we got to do the same thing here in our own state, bringing it together. It don't have to be somebody from just one city, bring it together as a whole, as a nation, so we can fight in unison and in solidarity forever. And I'm forever indebted for Ms. Deborah Scott for allowing me to come up there with the Atlanta NAACP that I am a happy member of, where we was able to fight at the Supreme Courthouse and let them know we want our votes, we want it now, and we're not stopping no time soon. And we already seeing what Magic did. So it's back to action come next year, but I'm gonna give me some rest from here on out.
Self-care is important. And so after we get self-care, what's next in 2022 for Queen Porch'se Miller?
What's next for Queen Miller in 2022? I will be fighting for the criminalization of cannabis. I will also continue to be fighting for the rights of the voiceless, such as prison reform, also against police brutality. And I'm getting ready to start a podcast.
I think that's great. That's great. How can people follow you, stay connected, assist you in your movement with your organization?
You can follow me at all letters and numbers, easy for you to see why. I am Queen. You can also follow me on Facebook, Porch'se Miller. That's PORCH''SE Miller. And I see y'all in the streets.
And we appreciate you. Thank you for coming on Justicefighter Podcast. You know, the podcast is always open as a platform to you for any of the things you want to get out to the community, because we really appreciate the work you're doing here. And we love you. And so, y'all, another great episode of the Justicefighter Podcast. Please tune in on all streaming platforms. We are streaming on all platforms. Check in on the movement. You always see what's going on in real time, and you never know who may jump into the pod. Portia has one last thing she wants to say.
Yes, I do have an announcement. January 7th, we are going back to Brunswick, Georgia for the sentencing of the McMichaels and Bryant. Please meet us there, 10 a.m. sharp at the Glenn County Courthouse in Brunswick, Georgia. And also that weekend, we're going to Valdosta for the Kendrick Johnson rally. That starts from the 9th through the 10th. So don't meet me there, beat me there, but I'm going to be there early. Black Power.
Black Power. So 7th through the 10th, we are in Brunswick, and then we're in Valdosta. The Brunswick County Courthouse is 901 H Street, Brunswick, Georgia. Y'all see, I know the actual address because we've been there so many times. So come on down, support the family of Ahmaud Arbery, support Marcus and Wanda Cooper Jones and Thea Wanza and so many others who need that support as we finish the run. We finished the run. I really appreciate you, Portia, for jumping on the podcast. Again, anytime you need it, we're here and we'll get the message out. Y'all stay tuned in to the Justicefighter Podcast on the Justice Media Network, and we'll see you on the next pod.
Peace, peace, peace.
This is the Justicefighter Podcast. Justicefighter Podcast with attorney Gerald Griggs. Attorney G. Where we have conversations on social justice, civil rights, and political news that affects us all. Let attorney Griggs put you on game. Only on the Justicefighter Podcast, y'all.